Good evening and welcome back to Tuk-Tuk Travels. I'm speaking now from an orientation in Pattaya. I signed my contract today, so that's kind of cool. Nerve-wracking at the same time. I actually have a job. But I'll tell you more about that and the orientation another time. Today I'm going to tell you all about my travels in and around Bangkok. Now, I came to Bangkok earlier than my orientation for my job because I wanted to acclimatise to the weather, to the time difference and all that jazz. Fortunately, because my flight landed in the evening and I can't sleep on planes, so I was awfully tired when I arrived, as you can tell from my last video. I slept right through to the morning and managed to escape all the jet lag nonsense. So that was pretty good. But yeah, as I go through this vlog, I'll include some photos from my travels. Now, all my photos were taken with this. Aha. This is my Canon SX40. It is amazing. I love it. Playing around with it has made me happier than a little boy in a candy shop, I must say. All the settings and the functions and different styles, it's just good. It's a good camera. But now, yes. I woke up Wednesday morning and I'd read in the guidebook, I have a Lonely Planet guidebook, that the best time to see the National Museum was on Wednesday or Thursday at 9:30 because there's an English-speaking tour. So I turned up for that and joined in, and I must say, from 9:30 till about 2 o'clock, our tour guide went on, but did a thoroughly good job. We went all around the museum, seeing, I think it was the second most famous Buddha Buddha statue in Thailand, which was quite cool in the palace there. I saw one of the homes of the princesses, and I learned quite a lot about Thai history. It was quite interesting. For instance, as you should be quite aware, or maybe aware, the Buddha is often seen with little bobbly hair things and the mound. However, as a demonstration of the trade routes and the people who were coming through at the time, the museum actually holds the only Buddha in the world that has a Western face and wavy hair, which was made for a Greek or Roman market. Roman coins have been found in Thailand, showing that trade routes were open for thousands of years before other civilizations knew about its existence. And this one-of-a-kind Buddha with a Western face and the wavy hair just goes to show how Buddhism travelled and iconography travelled around the world, which I thought was fascinating. But yeah, during this tour I met some girls, and not like that, dirty minds. No, I met some girls and I went to lunch with them because I was on my own. Yay! So we had lunch, and after that I joined one of them and went to Wat Po, which is probably the biggest, well, not the biggest, but it's the most centrally located temple complex in Bangkok itself. It's located just behind the Grand Palace and holds the reclining Buddha, which is an awfully big. Let's see if I have a photo lying around. You can't really see my ticket. Wrong way, but yes. This reclining Buddha takes up the entire length of an awfully large room and is covered in gold leaf. It was quite a spectacle. And the temple itself was wonderful to walk around. So I enjoyed that. And after Wat Po, we went back to Khao San Road, which is where I was staying. Met up with some friends and went out for dinner and drinks. The drinks in Thailand are cheap and plentiful. I think we got through a couple of 5-litre tubes of beer, and it was a most enjoyable evening. Now, Thursday I met up one of the girls, Heather, and we went around the Grand Palace. Now this was really nice, seeing the temple, and we saw the most famous Buddhist iconography piece in Thailand, which is the Emerald Buddha. Now, don't let me fool you, it isn't actually made of emerald. It's a nephrite or jade, but emerald sounds nicer. So you can't take any photos of that inside. So I'll provide a photo, but it was a sneaky one, taken through the door with the zoom. It's pretty good. So walk around the Grand Palace. It was interesting. When Rama V came to the throne, this is turn of the 20th century, to avoid the country being colonised, as the British had colonised Burma, and the French had taken like Vietnam and would later take Cambodia and Laos, the emperor decided to build a large host of European and Greco-Roman style buildings, as if to say to the British and the French, you may think I'm uncivilized, but look at all my architecture, look at my knowledge. And it just shows, because Thailand was never once colonised. It's quite interesting. I think more interesting though, these wonderful Italian style buildings all still have Thai roofs, which is quite an interesting thing to see. But yeah, after the Grand Palace, and we also saw, by the way, in the Grand Palace, the Queen has a charity called Support, which is set up to help local, not tradesmen I suppose, local artisans in Thailand to keep small things like silk weaving and gold things, very small trades and things that are being lost. 1 second. Here we go. The Queen's lovely thingy. But she set it up to preserve all these Thai traditions, and a lot of her clothes for grand ceremonies are made by local Thai women from around in small villages. It was a thoroughly enjoyable place. Now, after the Grand Palace, Heather and I jumped on a ferry and headed down to Chinatown. Our aim was to have lunch, but unfortunately we couldn't find anywhere to eat. You'd have thought Chinatown would be big for food, but it's actually a large host of gold shops and spare parts for steelworks. So, which was a bit disappointing, and we did find somewhere. It was about 4 times the prices anywhere else in Bangkok, and the food wasn't even that amazing. So that was a bit disappointing. But from there we went to see Wat Tramite, or forgive my pronunciation. It's another temple, but it holds the world's, or I think it's the world's, or Thailand's largest solid gold Buddha. I shall read my thing and tell you exactly how big it is. English always helps. Okay, this solid gold Buddha is 15 feet high and weighs 5.5 tons. That's pretty impressive. And when they originally found it, rescued it, they thought it was just a very large Buddha, made of stone and plaster. However, when they were transferring it up to the top of the temple, it dropped from the weight, and a bit of plaster chipped off. And underneath this plaster, they found it had been covered in black lacquer, and beneath that was a solid gold Buddha. Now, there are many theories as to why they'd cover up the Buddha in the first place, but I think the most plausible is that there have been huge conflicts between what is now Thailand and Burma over control of countries and land. And because of all these constant fights, shall we say, a lot of the time they covered up precious Buddhas in plaster, so they make them less steel-worthy. It would just be another stone Buddha. However, over time, obviously, this was forgotten, and it was a lovely surprise when they dropped a precious Buddha and found out underneath it was solid gold. Not bad. On to Friday. Well, Friday, by this point, unfortunately, Heather had gone home, and I hadn't met anyone from my course yet, so I spent the day wandering around myself. I covered quite a few miles in blistering heat, which perhaps wasn't the best idea, but I saw everything I wanted to, which was quite good. I started off going towards the Golden Mount. Now this is another temple with a big golden top to it, the Golden Mount, on a mountain. Mount, yeah, you get where I'm coming from. Now this was good, but on the way I passed the National Monument, which I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it was nice, and a few more temples. You'll find today that I visited an awful lot of temples, so you have to bear with me. I shan't attempt to pronounce all of them, for I do not remember them. Although I do know the first one I visited held some relics of the Buddha, which was very awe-inspiring, actually, and very nice. But yes, so I went to the top of the Golden Mount. I had some wonderful panoramic views of lower Bangkok, and from there went on to Wat Surathat, which is another temple complex, and the swing, the giant swing. I can't remember its proper name, so blah 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 blah. But yes, Wat Surathat and the swing. This is the swing. Nowadays this swing is more ceremonial. However, in days gone by, 15 feet in the air used to be hung a bag of gold, and whoever reached it was able to keep it. It was a challenge to the people of Bangkok to show that the king was still there, who gave money out to the poor, etc. However, unfortunately, this practice was stopped when quite a few number of people started dying, falling off their bamboo poles and the ropes, and it was deemed unsafe anymore. So that was stopped, but an interesting idea. Okay, from the this temple I walked straight across Bangkok to the Grand Palace, and then got a ferry across to Wat Arun. This is one of the only temples about 800 years old in Bangkok itself that you can climb up. Now, the steps were more like a ladder. This thing is awfully steep, and it was an amusing climb to the top and looking down quite vertically on these people panting and trying to climb towards you. Took nice photos of local ladies looking at me in disdain, which was quite fun. But from there I walked down a bit more to some more temples, again, big temple theme, before crossing back the river and going to the Museum of Siam. Now this museum is about the history of the Thai people, where they originated from and how they developed to the people they are today, along with the language. Again, this was actually really quite interesting. It was a very interactive museum, so you could play games. I had a few goes at basically video games, shooting, attacking forces with a cannon and pushing buttons and moving a huge cannon around, which is great fun. In one of the rooms for Rama V and the Europeanisation of Thailand to protect it from the colonisation of the British, I was coerced, quite forcibly, by some of the people there to try on some costumes. So, I must say, it didn't take much to twist my arm, and I was dressed as a 1920s Siam person. Now, my plan for Saturday was to go to the Dusit Palace grounds. Now this is a few miles north, well, about a mile and a half north of where I was staying. And walking there in the heat again wasn't the best idea, but I don't learn. So we went there, and I must say, I was most disappointed by this museum. Not because it wasn't enjoyable, it was completely fantastic. It was really quite something to see. But for some reason you weren't allowed to take any photos, not even with flash. So I can't show you anything there. If I find things on the internet, I'll add them on. But again, it was most unfortunate because it really was quite fantastic. Now, one of the mansions in the palace grounds is the largest teak-framed mansion in the world. And I went in, and these tourists came up to me and asked me, do I know anything about this place? And I'm like, well, I've never been here before, but... And I go on to tell them all about the history of the Europeanisation and the colonisation of Thailand, how the palace was built, the history between Siam and Russia and Prussia, the history of all the furniture in the house, the difference between Japanese and Chinese porcelain through the ages, and basically give my own guided tour to these tourists. I must say I felt very proud of myself, never been there before, just going, yeah, I live in Thailand now, I know this crap. Check me. But I must say after that, I went to a few museums again of the Queen's Support Foundation, and looking at silks and gold and woodwork. And the building, again, a huge Italian style throne hall. Absolutely breathtaking, but no photos. It's a shame. But after this I walked back to my hotel, passing along the way a university graduation ceremony, which I think puts anything we have to shame. Streets lined with vendors selling flowers and teddy bears, and lots of photos. It was most enjoyable. Back to the hotel, I just went swimming and dinner. So Sunday morning I get picked up and taken to Pattaya for the orientation. Long bus journey, but by now I've made quite a few friends on my course. We met up at the hotel, went for dinner a few times, a few drinks. So it's really nice to meet them. Nobody knows where they're moving yet, but hopefully we'll still keep in touch, and come April time go travelling around Asia and Thailand. So I'll add some more photos at the end of this, but I hope you enjoyed this brief account of my time in Bangkok. I will try to make these videos more interesting when I'm not bleary-eyed and tired, but the orientation is quite wearing me out. It's all interesting but very long days. I should tell you more about that next time, and look forward to seeing you then. Goodbye.